Hi, it's Mary Beth Shaw. I started working on my daily creative practice for July 2023, and I got to thinking maybe it'd be fun if I just recorded some of my process because you might enjoy it. You would be able to use these techniques if you're working in a journal, if you're making greeting cards, if you're working on wall pieces, if you work in any sort of mixed media. I think you might find something useful. So assuming I get inspired as we're working on this. So I'm going to turn the camera. I'm going to turn this light on. And then I'm going to just start working in this. And so here's where I am right now. I had just finished the other side of this this is one of those manila folders. That is what I use. I'm using the process I learned from Andrea Chabelot of Work of Heart. And I really have enjoyed this process. I have my cover for July, and I've put down some color here and there. I'm not ready to work on that yet. And then I have this section with a little bit of color. And then I really just want to work a little bit more on this one. I was pretty happy with how this worked out. I got a lot of collage in there, and collage always makes me happy. So let's turn to this other side where I've started the page with some paint, and then I also added some collage, and now I'm going to move forward with this and we'll see where it ends up going. One thing I really enjoy doing is just kind of randomly adding collage parts and hoping that it's all going to make sense down the road, right? Because I never know where I'm going when I start. And I think that's the lesson for the daily creative practice is you don't know where you're going to go. And that's what makes it so beautiful, right? Is that you just can play and not worry about the end result so much. And I love the detachment from that for sure. Because I feel like it gives me, so much freedom, and that really can make all the difference, in your creative practice, is if you feel that sense of freedom, right? So what I've done is gather a lot of previously created collage parts, and I have a little stack over here of things I've done here and there in sort of loosely a purple and orange color scheme. I'm using the So Flat paints, the golden So Flats. They're matte acrylic, which is great for a journal because the pages never stick together. I'm very fond of this red violet color, which is completely opaque. You can see here from the label. And the cadmium orange is not completely opaque, but I love them both, and I'm going to use them in this. I kind of want to put this piece in. I'm not sure where. I'm going to just leave it sit there for the moment. And this is some manufactured paper that I used, and I put a little hunk there. I think I'm going to put some other little pieces around here, maybe right there. It's largely, for me, a matter of building my layers. And I do think of it almost as if it were a construction project, right? Because I have these tissue pieces and other parts that I've used to create things here and there, and I just love pulling them out and seeing how they can work together and create a cohesive look. Now I've got a baby wipe here, so I'll dampen this, and then that glue keeps it, pulls it down to the background, and when you dampen it, that tissue just sort of disappears, right? I mean, look at that. You can barely tell that the tissue's there. Love, love, love. I have a bit of a matte piece down here at the bottom, and I think I might take that over to the side, like as a little border, kind of border up this side work, like create a little frame out of this map component. I have this pulled out. I don't know if I want to use it on this or not, but I've been saving this. Isn't it funny how you save, you know, things and you don't know what you're gonna do with them? This is a piece of it's one of those unbleached sari ribbons, and I painted it with watercolor paint, and then I did some rubbings on it. And I'm just really delighted at how it came out. I put a hunk of it over here. There's a piece of it right here, and I love how that came out. So I might like to use another piece of it over here somewhere. I like this top part a lot. There we go. Now, you do need to be careful. You see what I did there? I don't know if you can see this, but the rubbing wants to pop up. Once I glue it down, it'll be fine, but it's given me a little bit of a, you know, maybe that goes there, and maybe this goes up here. Sometimes when you're working on a page like this that you want to develop, it's nice to take a photograph of it, and then to, you know, because it allows you to sort of pull back and take a look at the overall page, and you get a different vantage point of it. I do that a lot with my work. Or I have also found if you simply walk away, I mean, how easy is that, right? You just literally go get a beverage or walk away from your work for a minute, and then you come back, and when you come back, it's like a looking through it with fresh eyes type experience, right? And that helps me a lot. You just see, that was tissue, so it just tore so easily. I didn't even have to get my scissors out. Now, the other thing I do when I put tissue down is I will go, like I'm doing right now, and get the edges to come up so it looks a little distressed. So see how these edges I pulled back right there. Get rid of that straight edge. Makes a huge difference, I think. And it adds to the integration, the overall integration. I'm going to grab a paintbrush, and I'm going to add some painted parts here. This is actually more of a glue brush, but you know, it'll be fine. So I'm just gonna put some random paint marks around. I'm not trying to create anything specific, just trying to add some overall integration to the piece and kind of smooth it out. So that worked great. And then what was I thinking about here? Oh, this is not the one. It's this one that I want to use. I think maybe here. And then this one I maybe want to use over here. Now this is interesting because maybe I'll bring this up a little bit higher, I think. I don't know why I put that black and white piece there. It's bugging me a little bit. And so what that says to me is that I either need to, you know, do something around it or put another piece of it somewhere else. So I think I'll go with the other piece somewhere else, maybe up here. That's good. Now I got some spray paint out because I knew I wanted to go in with this water-based spray paint. This is a low, what's it called, a low odor paint. So it says that you can use it indoors, which, you know, I don't know, whatever, right? So we're just gonna go for it. And it's adding some nice little blending here and there. This is something that I believe is so important to work in general, is the idea of blending it. For me anyway. When I put down parts, I really like it to feel as if they all belong together. You probably saw me just flip that stencil upside down. I do this a lot. I'm going to move this to the side and see if I can get any more of the paint off on this part. You know, because here's the thing. Once you got paint on something, you need to use it, right? So there, I've used it there, which is nice. And we'll clean the stencil off, mainly because I used it with spray paint, which can get a little plasticky on top of the stencils. So I do clean them a little bit when I use spray paint. So that added a nice little blending and smoothing of the overall piece. All right, so I also have this. This is I think this came with this paint, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I believe it's a sticker. Maybe I won't even use it, but I kind of like the silver effect of it for sure. All right, I do still want to use this though, I believe. I like the idea. I've been using the cad orange and the red violet, but I like the idea of involving some yellow in this. So I'm gonna go get some yellow paint here and see if we can blend this in a little bit. I think it might look really nice. I grabbed a Paper Artsy fresco finish in pumpkin soup. It's a yellow, but it's also translucent, which I thought might look pretty nice on here. So I'm gonna get my rubber spreader and spread some yellow around. One of the advantages of using spray paint is that it dries super fast. Look at how fast that dried. I mean, I only sprayed that a little bit ago, and it's already dry. All right, there's some nice yellow spread around. All right. Now, I want to use the white. And I've put so much color down now that I feel like I've lost the sense of contrast that I had in this piece before. And so I'm gonna pull the shape stencil again and see if I can add a few shapes here and there. Not a ton, but a few. I'm gonna keep it semi-small. And okay, note here, I used the stencil, avoided the stencil, used the stencil. So you don't even have to just stick to certain parts of the stencil. You can just avoid certain parts. So then look at how that came out. I believe that that's much more interesting than putting the whole swath of white there. Although I believe that might be what I'm going to do over here. So I'm sticking to the smaller component parts of this stencil, mainly because of the scale of the art. I mean, this is not a huge piece of art, so I don't want to just go overboard with the stenciling with extremely large shapes. I feel like the shapes need to be somewhat compatible with the art piece itself. I mean, of course I could do, you know, a huge amount of white on this, but I think it would be pulling a lot away from the piece. So that lightened it up considerably, maybe a little bit more up here. Let's use this little guy right here. I probably had over stencil on this. We'll see how it looks. I may end up wiping some of that away. All in all, I think it looks pretty good except for these bits. Okay, there we go. So again, I was thinking about this down here. It's going to cover up some of the stenciling we just did. I'm okay with that. And then this over here. This is getting very, very layered. There's a lot going on here that is just not coming up on camera because I can see in the monitor it's not all coming up, but I do like the effect for sure. This black really pops out, probably more so than I had in mind. So I'm gonna fussy cut around this. It's a little quilt piece. Stencil that is, you know, replicates a quilt square, and just a little too black for what I need on here, in my opinion. And you can see I'm cutting this out, and the background that I'm cutting away can be as interesting as the piece that is the actual shape. So I'm going to consider both of those for the work, the art here for my journal spread, and see which one ends up looking best, right? So here's this, and then maybe it would be nice to use this, right? I like the idea of that, I think. Or maybe use it like this. Or maybe take this out totally. Possibly it doesn't work there because I think I probably like these two better. Yeah. This is the great thing about the practice journal, is it's a daily creative practice. You are not, you know, it's not to say that every single thing is the absolute perfect result, the perfect composition, the perfect color palette, etc. You are using this as practice, a sketchbook, so to speak. And I do love the freedom in that. I really do. It helps me to take my own work to a different level because I try things that I might not otherwise have tried. Like this is a little bold down here. I never would have tried something like that, like in my other art, you know. But I do kind of like that. Now the other thing that I really enjoy doing is putting in some line work. And I tend to look at how the page influences me. So there's certain lines that speak to me, like that one, and then this one speaks to me. So I'm going to extend those lines, and then we'll see where they go. This turns into a scribble and comes across, goes back up. Oops, tore some paper. It's okay. Creative practice, people. Little scribble. The line work, you know, this may or may not be your thing. I sort of like it, but then I go back in with the baby wide and I pull some of it back because I want to make it more mysterious. It's like I want it there, which means I have to draw it, but then I have to pull some back because I don't want it to completely dominate the work either. So it's a dance for sure. It's a dance for me. But I like where this is going for sure. I feel like it's in a pretty good place now. I'm probably ready to move to the next page. Let me hold this up and you can take a closer look. I've got things that I didn't intend to happen here, but maybe they're okay, maybe they're not. Let's take a look. Perhaps I can go back in with the cat orange and then just add some fingerprint stamps in those areas where I had little things that I didn't mean to happen, right? You know, your fingers are just such great little stamps, and they're different sizes, which I do tend to love, right? I just love the fact that you always have them with you. You don't even have to get up and get anything else. They're just right there. And that's a nice little extra for me to add those fingerprints. I think it's super cute. I like that extra pop of color. So I'm gonna call this one done. Thanks for watching. I hope maybe you saw something you liked, some tips or whatever. As always, I would appreciate hearing from you. So thank you again for watching my July daily creative practice.